Hey there, my name's Amy Scarano. I'm researching Jean-Jacques Rousseau's ideas about curriculum and pedagogy and discussing what he meant by teach by doing whenever you can and only fall back upon words when doing it is out of the question, as cited in Chapman and King. Jean-Jacques Rousseau was born in 1712 and died in 1778. In his early life, Jean-Jacques Rousseau was born in Geneva. His mother died within a week of his birth, and his father left him when he was 10 due to a fight that caused him to flee from the law and never return. Rousseau was then raised by his uncle and the clergy. He was known as somewhat of a child in his behavior, but had many strong opinions to share with anyone who would read them. He wrote the following books in a matter of 15 months. La Nouvelle Heloise was a romance novel. The Social Contract was his most famous work that implies the sovereign power lies in the will of the people, and Emile, which is the basis of his curriculum in pedagogy and education. The Social Contract was considered revolutionary and the most important of Rousseau's work. It was more of a political work. Rousseau was asked to tutor a prominent French woman's son. He used Emile, the son's name, as a subject for his book with the idea that if he kept all society and formal education away from the child, that the child would learn more and be more well adapted. In the book, Rousseau and Revolution, written in 1967, it states, Rousseau began by rejecting existing methods as teaching, usually by rote, worn-out, and corrupt ideas, as trying to make the child an obedient automation in a decaying society and preventing the child from thinking and judging for himself, as deforming him into a mediocrity and brandishing platitudes and classic tags. He felt that the opinions of adults on children at the time were ruining their brains. Hence the quote, teach by doing whenever you can, and only fall back upon words when doing is out of the question. That's consistent with his belief of the teacher only being a guide and students noticing problems and creating a solution to the problems with their own hands. Emile was written in 1762, and it was a 450-page published study on the tutoring of this boy, Emile. His findings were the basis of revolutionary ideas in education. He wrote, schooling should be a happy process with a natural unfolding of learning from nature and experience, freely developing one's capacities into full and zestful living. Rousseau had the feeling that there were 3 periods of learning, according to Emile's life. The physical and the moral stage, where he felt that there was no formal education that should be taught. He felt like the boy should run around outside and love nature and the outdoors. He also developed habits of simplicity by keeping him outdoors and loving nature. He felt that students between birth and the age of 12 shouldn't be made to sit still when they want to run about, and he also felt that moral teaching was through modeling and not preaching, and that the ages of 0 to 12 were the time to model that behavior. He felt that the intellectual stage was between the years of 12 and 18. He said that clever teacher will arrange problems and tasks and let students learn by hitting a thumb or stubbing a toe. He truly felt that mistakes should be made, and that's how people learn. He felt that the intellectual time must come after the formation of moral character. He felt that reading books, only a few books at this time, would help a transition from nature to literature. And he also felt that problem solving done through solving real problems in the world and in nature were the way to learn. He felt that after the age of 18, that was the time to teach about religion. He also felt like teaching about Christianity and God was only after 18, and that the relationships in marriage could be spoken about after it was brought up by the student themselves. The findings of Rousseau is consistent with the least restrictive environment for all students. His pedagogy is that the student is to be free of opinion and words of the teachers. His focus is natural play, hands-on experience, and problem solving through doing. This quote was found in Education in Emerging India by Ravi Samuel. It illustrates Rousseau's passion of students being introduced to learning outside the typical classroom. All of his curriculum ideas are based off of the idea that the student is doing the learning, and the teacher is simply a guide to keep the student within an appropriate zone of safety. The teacher is not to speak often or offer any opinions to the learning. The following are some of the developmental curriculum ideas that Rousseau is known for. The Playway Method. Rousseau believed that learners up to the age of 12 should only learn through play and nature. They should explore, play games, and learn through making mistakes and solving natural problems. In the heuristic method, Rousseau continues to teach the child through problems created in the world. Children are to see problems in the real world and try to solve them without an instruction or intervention from an adult. Rousseau's teaching of moral education is also in early education, before the age of 12. He believed that morals should be taught through setting a good example and never lecturing. His philosophy is that example is better than precept. The teacher's role, according to Rousseau, is that the teacher should be a guide only, without controlling the students. They should give the students freedom and guide them. The teacher should also know the students well enough to create an interesting and engaging problems that they will strive to solve. The teacher creates the problems that the students do. After the age of 12 to 15, the student can begin schooling. The role of the teacher is to create the teach by doing whenever you can and only fall back upon words when doing is out of the question philosophy. The teacher should only be a guide in the learning and problem solving that the student is trying to solve. As far as discipline goes, Rousseau believed that school was not a place for punishment or reward. Rousseau believed in natural consequences only. He felt that if Emile broke a window, he would have to sleep in the room with a broken window and be cold. The impact on traditional school today, due to Rousseau, is that there is a focus on the individual child through differentiation. There is a focus on learning through play, and there's a focus on the child's needs and interests with instruction. There's also a focus on vocational training, child-centered learning, and on student learning and problem solving with teacher guidance, not instruction. That is the hope. And as much as Rousseau's beliefs may permit the children and students to have a bit too much freedom, I think it would be difficult to wait until the children are the age of 12 before having them read books or begin to read or go to school. I do agree with the fact that the current curriculum does need to adapt more to the curriculum and pedagogy of Rousseau, in the belief that the students should be more the focus and the teacher should not be the one talking most of the time. The focus does need to change to the students being able to solve real-world problems both in and out of school, instead of focusing on just the correct question and what a standardized test is expecting from you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation on Jean-Jacques Rousseau and his pedagogy. I really have learned a lot from his quote and from this research, and I appreciate the assignment. Thank you.